I remember we had signed because one of the main reasons, because Epic had promised us 2 to 3 cuts on every album we get to record our own music. And when Jermaine didn't come to that session, we were scrambling. What are we gonna do? We don't want to have a bass player. Who's gonna sing this part? Who's gonna sing that part?
What Berry Gordy did to the Jackson 5 is truly awful. They weren't just Motown's golden boys, they were a money-making machine. One minute, the group was topping charts. The next, they were begging for control over their own music.
And everyone says, you guys have it so easy, my other brothers and sisters would say. And my parents were a lot more lenient with us, and I thought they were very strict.
They weren't allowed to write, weren't allowed to play, and when they asked for fair pay, they got a slap in the face, just 2.7% in royalties.
I'm a Black American. I'm proud to be a Black American. I am proud of my race. I am proud of who I am. I have a lot of pride in who I am and dignity.
Then came the lawsuits, the name change, and a bitter exit. After this, you may never see Motown the same again. The Jackson 5 were 5 brothers from Gary, Indiana, a small city in the United States. They loved to sing and dance, and they were very good at it, even as children. One day, they got the chance of a lifetime. They signed a contract with Motown Records. At that time, Motown was a very famous music company. It had already made stars like the Supremes, Stevie Wonder, and the Temptations. So for these young boys, this was a big opportunity. It was like getting picked to play in the biggest league after practicing in the backyard. They were finally getting noticed. As soon as they joined Motown, things changed fast. Their very first song, I Want You Back, became a #1 hit. That means it was the most popular song in the country. After that, their next songs, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There, also became #1 hits. That had never happened before. 4 #1 songs in a row. Almost overnight, they became superstars. You could see their faces on TV, in magazines, and on posters. Kids had Jackson 5 lunchboxes and t-shirts. Everyone knew their names. They were loved everywhere. But becoming famous is not always fun and easy. Behind the scenes, life was very different. Being a star with Motown was hard work. It was not just about singing. The company made sure the artists were trained, just like soldiers in boot camp. They had to practice singing every day. They learned dance steps and how to speak to the media. Everything had to be perfect. Berry Gordy, the man who started Motown, liked things to be a certain way. He didn't just find talent. He trained it to fit the Motown style. For the Jackson brothers, this training was even harder. They were still kids, but Motown treated them like adults. They had to practice for hours and follow strict rules. Experts like Suzanne DePass and a team of songwriters and producers called the Corporation worked with them. They helped turn the boys into polished performers. The boys had to work hard every day. But even with all this control, something special happened. The Jackson 5 had a natural spark. Their energy and talent couldn't be hidden. Their first song, I Want You Back, showed the world how amazing they were. The next few years were full of excitement. They kept making hit songs that people loved. ABC was fun and catchy. The Love You Save had strong rhythm. I'll Be There was soft and emotional. These songs were played on radios all over the country. Their success was something no other group had done before. They made history with their music. They performed on TV, traveled to different cities, and filled big concert halls. People of all ages, especially kids and teens, became their fans. America was amazed by these young boys who sang and danced like grown-up professionals. Out of all the brothers, one stood out the most, Michael Jackson. Even as a young boy, Michael had something extra. His voice was smooth and he could move like no one else. When he performed, people couldn't look away. He had something that couldn't be taught. Music experts could see that Michael was a star. Even at such a young age, he had the power to touch people's hearts. That was very rare. But he was just a kid, and people expected him to work like an adult. That kind of pressure can be very heavy. At home, their father, Joe Jackson, managed their careers.
My father was strict, but he had his reasons. You know, he
So
has...
you didn't think that those reasons were unreasonable.
Oh, no. I mean, come on, we're all black in here just about.
He was also very strict. He wanted everything to be perfect. He made sure they practiced and never made mistakes. If they did something wrong, they got in trouble. Joe acted like their father and their boss at the same time. The line between love and control became blurry. The brothers didn't get much kindness or freedom at home either. Motown also controlled what the group could do creatively. The Jacksons couldn't choose their own songs. They couldn't write music or decide what kind of songs to sing. Motown picked everything for them. They also didn't own their music. That meant the company made all the money from their songs. The brothers were treated more like products to be sold than artists with ideas. Still, for a few years, this system worked. The Jackson 5 became one of the most famous groups in the world. They even had their own cartoon show and toys with their faces on them. But as the boys grew older, they started to notice things. They began to understand that something wasn't fair. They were the ones doing all the work, but they had very little control. They were becoming young men, and they wanted to speak up. They realized that their contract with Motown was very one-sided. They didn't have the freedom to grow as artists. They wanted to write their own songs and have a say in their careers. The happiness they once felt was now mixed with frustration. When the Jackson 5 signed with Motown, they were just excited kids. They didn't know how business worked. Joe Jackson signed the contract for them, but Gordy, the head of Motown, had all the power. The contract gave Motown full control over their music and name. The brothers didn't own the songs they sang. Even though their music made millions of dollars, most of that money went to the company, not to them. The truth about money was shocking. The Jacksons only got about 2.7% of the money their records made. That small amount had to be divided between all 5 brothers. So if their music made $1 million, they only got $27,000. That money was before taxes and other costs. After everything was paid, they were left with very little. Meanwhile, Gordy and Motown were getting rich. This was a big problem. The more the brothers learned about the business, the more unfair it felt. It wasn't just about money. The brothers also wanted to be more creative.
Then there was a new demographic, a new audience, and we wanted to come up with something that was a little more different.
They had ideas, but Motown didn't let them share those ideas. They wanted to grow as artists, but they were stuck in a system that didn't allow change. They were tired of being told what to sing, how to dress, and what to do. They didn't want to be treated like little kids anymore. They wanted to be seen as serious musicians.
To show people that we're still here, the sound has changed a little, but we still have that Jackson feel, that Jackson sound to it.
In 1975, the Jacksons decided to make a big change. They wanted to leave Motown and take control of their future.
We thought we was ready to show the world that we can write our own compositions and let them feel music coming from the Jacksons. We thought it was our turn to step in and show the people what we can really do.
But it wasn't easy. Motown owned their group name. That meant if they left, they couldn't use the Jackson 5 anymore. It was like starting over. Still, they knew it was the right thing to do. In 1976, they signed a new contract with Epic Records, a different music company. This gave them more freedom.
I remember we had signed because one of the main reasons, because Epic had promised us 2 to 3 cuts on every album we get to record our own music.
Their first album with Epic was called The Jacksons. It came out in 1976. Then they released another album called Goin' Places in 1977. These albums were good, but their real success came in 1978 with the album Destiny. This album was special because the brothers wrote and produced the songs themselves. Songs like Blame It on the Boogie,
Don't blame it on the sunshine, don't blame it on the moonlight, don't blame it,
and Shake Your Body Down to the Ground
shake your body down to the ground.
showed they could succeed without Motown. They had proven they were real artists. One change that happened during this time was that Jermaine Jackson didn't leave Motown with the rest of the group.
That was very heartbreaking, not for just me, but for the entire band, because we've never been on a stage without all the five of the brothers.
He stayed because he was married to Berry Gordy's daughter, Hazel. He chose to stay with the family.
And when Jermaine didn't come to that session, we were scrambling. What are we going to do? We don't have a bass player. Who's going to sing this part? Who's going to sing that part?
So, the youngest brother, Randy Jackson, joined the group instead. The group kept moving forward. By 1980, Michael Jackson was no longer a child. He was a young man who understood the music business. He had learned from the past and now knew how things worked. Even though they had left Motown, Michael still had one more thing to deal with. Motown owed him money. He had made them millions with his solo songs like Got to Be There and Ben. But he didn't get paid fairly. So in 1980, he decided to sue Motown to get the money he deserved. This was a brave thing to do. Berry Gordy had once been a mentor to Michael, but now Michael was standing up for himself. He wasn't a little boy anymore. He was strong, smart, and ready to fight for what was right. The lawsuit showed that he was no longer willing to be used. He wanted respect and fairness. In the years that followed, Michael's success grew even bigger. He released the album Off the Wall, which was very popular.
So tonight, gotta leave the 9 to 5 up on the
But in 1982, he released Thriller, which became the best-selling album of all time. This proved that Michael didn't need Motown. He had become a star on his own. In fact, he had become bigger than Motown itself. Motown saw this and wanted to be part of Michael's success again. In 1983, they invited him and his brothers to perform at a special event called Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, Forever. It was a TV show to celebrate the history of Motown. The Jacksons agreed to perform together, but the real highlight of the show was when Michael performed Billie Jean by himself. That night, he wore a sparkly jacket and one white glove. Most importantly, he showed the moonwalk for the first time on TV. That performance changed everything. People were amazed. It was a moment that made history. But Motown didn't create that moment. Michael did. It was clear to everyone that Michael had outgrown Motown. That show wasn't a return for him. It was his goodbye. Now, when it comes to their father, Joe Jackson was known to be very strict with his children. He wanted them to be successful and believed that strict rules and hard discipline were the best ways to achieve this. Joe often used physical punishment to keep control of his children. This means he sometimes hit or spanked them to make sure they behaved the way he wanted. Many people have said that his way of parenting was very tough and sometimes even harsh. Because of this, the relationship between Joe and his children was often difficult and filled with tension. In an interview in 2013, Joe Jackson spoke openly about how he disciplined his children. He told Piers Morgan, a famous interviewer, that he had no regrets about using physical punishment. He said he was happy that he was tough because of the results he got. Joe felt that his strictness was a part of the reason his children became successful musicians and performers. Even though some people saw his actions as abusive, Joe did not agree with that idea. He believed he was just teaching his children the right way to behave.
In the book, you talk about how you never called your dad Dad. You always called him
Joseph.
Joseph. He didn't want anybody to call him Dad.
One of Joe's children, Janet Jackson, shared some memories about her father's strict rules. In 2011, Janet told Piers Morgan that she was only allowed to call her father Joseph, not Dad or Daddy.
When our parents tell us something, you don't question it. But you understand what I'm saying? Yes, it is what it is, and you leave it alone.
She also said that Joe once hit her when she was very young, younger than 8 years old. Despite this, Janet said she believed Joe meant well and wanted what was best for his children. She thought the way he disciplined them was not the best, but it still got the job done. Janet seemed to understand her father's reasons, even though she didn't always agree with his methods.
And everyone says, you guys have it so easy, my other brothers and sisters would say. And my parents were a lot more lenient with us, and I thought they were very strict.
When Piers Morgan talked to Joe Jackson again in 2013, he did not show Joe the clip of Janet saying he had hit her. Instead, Morgan asked Joe about how he disciplined his children. Joe said, "There's no such thing as beating a kid. You whip them and punish them over something they did, and they will remember that. They will remember it in such a way they wouldn't do it again." Joe was explaining that in his view, punishment was a way to teach children right from wrong, and he believed it worked because his children learned to behave. After Michael passed away, people found out that Joe was not included in Michael's will. This meant Michael did not leave any of his money or property to his father. Michael's biographer, J. Randy Taraborelli, guessed that Michael's many plastic surgeries might have been his way of not wanting to look like his father. When Michael was young, his skin color was a medium brown, but starting in the mid-1980s, his skin gradually became much lighter. This change made many people in the media talk and guess what was happening. Some people thought Michael was bleaching his skin to look white. However, Michael's doctor said he had a skin condition called vitiligo. Vitiligo causes patches of skin to lose their color, making the skin look uneven. The doctor also said Michael had lupus, another skin condition. Because of vitiligo, Michael's skin color changed over time. To cover the uneven skin, Michael used special makeup and sometimes creams that lightened his skin even more. This made him look very pale. Some experts said that many African American celebrities try to look lighter skinned to get better chances in movies and television.
I'm a Black American. I'm proud to be a Black American. I am proud of my race. I am proud of who I am. I have a lot of pride in who I am and dignity.
One filmmaker who worked with Michael said that when Michael showed him his very light chest skin, he told Michael that the doctor who did it was a criminal. This shows how people around Michael had strong feelings about the changes in his skin color. Michael often tried to protect his skin from the sun by wearing long sleeves, sunglasses, and using an umbrella when outside. In 1993, he talked about his skin in an interview with Oprah Winfrey. He said he did not bleach his skin and didn't even know what skin bleaching was. Michael said he had a skin disease called vitiligo, which made his skin lose its color. He said people who made up stories about him trying to change his race hurt his feelings. He asked people to think about how many people want to get darker skin by sitting in the sun, but no one talks badly about them.
People always told me, be careful what you do. Don't go.
Michael often said he was proud to be Black. He once wrote a letter to a photographer where he said he loved all people in the world and did not understand how anyone could hate someone because of their skin color. He said all humans are born naked and equal, no matter their skin color. He believed that racism was caused by ignorance and that everyone should be treated equally. In 1993, Michael faced serious accusations. A man named Evan Chandler said Michael had hurt his 13-year-old son, Jordan. Michael had become friends with Jordan after renting a car from Jordan's stepfather. At first, Jordan's father seemed okay with their friendship, but later he became suspicious. He told his ex-wife, who had custody of Jordan, that he thought something bad might be happening. Evan Chandler asked Michael for money and said he would take the case to court if Michael did not pay. After Jordan told a doctor that Michael had touched him in a bad way, the police started an investigation. They looked for proof, but found none. When news about the accusations came out, Michael had to stop his world tour because of stress and health problems caused by the scandal.
I will get everything I want, and they will be destroyed forever. They will be destroyed. June is going to lose Jordy. She will have no right to ever see him again.
Yeah.
That's a fact, Dave. That's what's going to happen. Her career will be over.
In September 1993, Jordan and his family sued Michael. Later, they made a deal with Michael where he paid money to avoid going to court. Michael's lawyers said that this did not mean he was guilty. The police closed the case in 1994 because Jordan's family stopped helping with the investigation. This left the case without important witnesses. The accusations made people think badly about Michael. His health and reputation suffered. Many companies stopped working with him, including Pepsi, which had a long relationship with Michael. More accusations came later, leading to a trial in 2005 called People v. Jackson. In this trial, Michael was found not guilty of all charges. Also, in an interview, Toya spoke openly and clearly about her brother, Michael Jackson. She said things that shocked many people. Toya said Michael was a child predator and had hurt children in bad ways. She did not want to keep quiet about these things any longer.
So have you heard from your brother, and how is he doing?
Well, I certainly hope he's doing fine. And no, I have not spoken to him since he's been in this situation.
This interview became important again because of a new documentary called Leaving Neverland. The documentary talked about two men, James Safechuck and Wade Robson, who said Michael Jackson had hurt them when they were children. After the documentary came out, people remembered Toya's words from years ago. In the interview, Toya was at a press meeting with reporters. She told them that she could not stay silent. She said, "I cannot and will not be a silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children." This means she did not want to help hide the bad things she believed Michael did. Toya was answering questions about a serious claim made earlier that year. A man said Michael had hurt his 13-year-old son, Jordan Chandler. That case ended with Michael paying $20 million to settle it outside of court. Toya explained why she spoke out. She said if she stayed quiet, it would be like helping to make the children feel worse. She said, "If I remain silent, then it means I fuel the guilt and humiliation these children are feeling, and I think it's very wrong." Toya said her mother once showed her very large checks that Michael had sent to the parents of the children who accused him. Toya also shared something personal. She said she was a victim of sexual assault herself. Because of her own painful experience, she said she could not keep quiet about what her brother was accused of. She said she understood how much the children would be hurt and scared for the rest of their lives. She wanted to protect innocent children from getting hurt anymore. Even though she loved her brother, Toya said her feelings for the children were stronger. She said, "I love Michael dearly, but I feel even more sorry for these children because they don't have a life anymore. They don't." She asked reporters to think carefully about the situation. She asked, "What 35-year-old man is going to take a little boy and stay with him for 30 days, and take another boy and stay with him for 5 days in a room and never leave the room?" Toya wanted people to see that this behavior was strange and wrong. She asked how many grown men would do this with young boys aged 9, 10, or 11. Even though she loved Michael, she said, "It's wrong. I don't want to see these kids hurt." After Toya's statements, the Jackson family spoke back. They said Toya was lying and that she might have been paid to say bad things about Michael. MTV News host Steve Blame shared this, and he also said that just the month before, Toya had said she thought her brother was innocent. This made the situation more confusing for many people. Later, more problems came from inside the Jackson family. Jermaine Jackson faced new accusations. A woman named Rita Barrett said Jermaine had hurt her in 1988. She filed a legal case in Los Angeles. She said Jermaine came to her home without asking and forced his way inside. She said he hurt her in a bad way. The case also said that Jermaine's business groups were responsible. Rita said she told Gordy, the man who started Motown Records, about the attack. But she claimed Gordy did nothing to help and hid what happened. This kept the problem secret and allowed Jermaine and others to keep making money and working as usual. Michael Jackson's relationship with children was often talked about in the news. He liked having children sleep over at his Neverland Ranch home. Michael always said these were innocent visits and nothing bad happened. But many people did not believe this. The way he acted around children made people suspicious. This led to many problems and court cases over the years. The Jackson family's life was always watched by the media. Reporters wrote many stories about them, often exaggerating or twisting facts. The family's private life became public and hard to control. Because of this, many people did not see the Jackson family just as musicians, but also as a family with many problems. This made life very difficult for them both at work and at home.